She was standing at my gate like she owned the whole world, pointing at my cabin as if she'd been giving guided tours her entire life. "This is the place," she told a man in a suit, making a sweeping gesture toward my home. The guy beside her held a clipboard and was leaning just far enough over the fence to look proud of himself, like he'd already pictured where to put his fancy furniture. I stepped out onto the porch with my coffee, raised my voice, and asked, "Can I help you with something?" She didn't even blink. "Yes," she replied calmly. "You can start packing. This property is officially for sale." At first, I actually laughed. I figured it was some silly mix-up with the community association. But then I spotted the sign she'd planted right in front of my gate. My address printed across it, advertising my cabin for sale, with her listed as the community representative. "This happens to be my house," I said, walking toward the gate. She shot me a tight, fake smile. "Not anymore. The association has chosen to put it on the market, and we already have people interested." My hand tightened on my mug. "Funny," I said, "because last time I checked, the association doesn't own my land." She exchanged whispers with the man beside her like I was a minor inconvenience. While they were busy conspiring, I noticed something else. The gate lock wasn't mine. She'd swapped it out. I pulled out my phone, ready to call the sheriff, then paused. A much better idea came to mind. Without a word, I walked to the shed and returned with a chain, a heavy-duty lock, and a bright red sign I'd kept for a moment just like this. By the time they realized what I was doing, I had wrapped the chain around the gate from my side and hung the sign. "Private property. Trespassers will be prosecuted." The man's smile dropped. She scowled. "You can't do that," she snapped. I took a sip of coffee. "Watch me." Her voice shot up an octave. "You're interfering with an official sale. I'm calling security." She dialed her phone with theatrical intensity. I leaned comfortably against the gate. "Go ahead. Make sure they have real badges this time." The man in the suit was already stepping away, clearly regretting ever getting involved. A few minutes later, an old SUV rolled up the dirt road. Two men climbed out wearing mismatched uniforms. No department names, no real insignia. One even had a cheap badge clipped on like he ordered it from some place that sells novelty goods. "Sir, you need to open this gate," the taller one said. I smiled at him. "Sure. Just tell me which law lets you stand on this property." The woman crossed her arms. "They're community enforcement. They have authority here." I moved closer to the fence and spoke low enough for just them to hear. "Here's the issue. I actually know real law enforcement. I used to train them. And I can tell you both with absolute certainty, you're not on any official roster." The fake officers exchanged nervous looks. Before they could respond, she jumped in. "Your stories won't scare us." "Oh, it's not a story," I said, lifting my phone. "I'm about to call the county sheriff. When he gets here, you can explain why you're wearing pretend badges?" The tall one shifted uneasily. The other muttered something about maybe leaving, but she cut him off again. And then we all heard it. The deep, steady approach of a real patrol truck. It stopped right behind their SUV, lights flashing across the trees. The sheriff stepped out, calm and confident, taking in the whole scene at once. "So," he said, "who wants to tell me what's going on?" She jumped in immediately. "He's illegally occupying this property. We have a buyer waiting and he's blocking the sale. He even threatened my security officers." The sheriff looked at me. "That true?" "No, sir," I answered. "This is my land. She's trespassing. They're impersonating officers, and she changed my lock. I recorded everything." The sheriff turned to the two men. "Names?" They stumbled through fake introductions. One even used a name belonging to someone I had trained years earlier. "And badge numbers?" Silence. She stepped forward again. "This is a private community matter. The association has full authority." The sheriff shut that down instantly. "Unless the association owns his deed, you have no authority to sell his house or touch his locks." She hesitated, then pulled out a folder, like she'd been waiting for her big dramatic reveal. "Actually, I have the deed right here." The sheriff scanned the papers. "That's interesting," he said. "These documents claim the transfer happened 2 weeks ago." My stomach tightened. I'd never signed anything. She folded her arms, looking victorious. See? Everything's legal. He's been living here without owning it. The sheriff handed me the papers. My signature wasn't on them. In fact, the scribble didn't even resemble handwriting. And the so-called buyer? Someone I'd never heard of. That's not mine, I said. She shrugged. Doesn't matter. The records already show it. We even paid the taxes. The sheriff frowned. If this is forged, that's felony-level fraud. But I need to confirm it. She jumped back in. While you verify it, he needs to move out. The buyer wants to move in today. Not happening, I said calmly. I then added, loud enough for everyone to hear, Sheriff, I installed a new security system a couple months ago. Every plate, every visitor, every single one is recorded and backed up. We can pull exactly who walked into the courthouse with those documents. For the first time, her confidence cracked. You can't use that. It's my property, I cut in. My cameras. The sheriff nodded. We're heading to my office to check those records. Right then, a sleek black SUV rolled up. Dark windows, covered plates. The man who stepped out made her go rigid. He walked straight toward us, polished and composed. You must be the buyer, I said. He looked at me with a practiced half smile. Let's say I represent parties who want this land quickly. She quickly added, he has connections. This is bigger than you realize. If you just move out, you may even be compensated. The sheriff stepped in. Either the deed is real or it's not. Until I confirm it, nobody touches this gate. The suited man stared at him. You don't understand who you're dealing with. I chuckled. I was thinking the same thing. The sheriff's radio crackled just then. They had pulled courthouse footage. The suspect, a woman mid-50s, short blonde hair, floral blouse. Every eye drifted to her. That's not me, she insisted weakly. The sheriff ignored her and walked to his truck. If the footage matches, you'll be facing a long list of charges. The suited man shot her a look sharp enough to cut glass. You said everything was handled. She whispered frantically. He wasn't supposed to be here. I couldn't resist. Rough day, huh? The sheriff turned back. Sir, grab your original title and meet me at the station. I agreed, but didn't head straight there. Instead, I took the back path through the woods behind my cabin. From there, I had a perfect view of the road. Sure enough, within 20 minutes, a dark van rolled up and parked suspiciously far away. Two men stepped out wearing gloves. One carried a red gas can. I recorded everything. They approached the gate and found my chains still in place. One pulled out bolt cutters. That's when I stepped out from the trees and pumped my shotgun, not pointing it at them, just loud enough. This is private land, I said, and you two have about 5 seconds to explain why you're holding gasoline. One dropped the can immediately, the other tried to play it off. We're just maintenance. Maintenance doesn't wear masks or carry gas at night, I replied. You're already on multiple cameras. I didn't even need to call the sheriff. He had circled back on his own, already suspicious of the rushed exit earlier. His patrol truck boxed them in, and within moments they were in handcuffs. I'm guessing these two don't work for you, he asked. I handed him the footage and the audio I'd recorded earlier. 3 little words that said everything. Do it tonight. By the end of the night, she was arrested for fraud and trespassing. The man in the suit was picked up for attempted arson and attempted property theft. Turned out the group he represented had been targeting older homes to flip illegally. Mine just happened to be the one they couldn't quietly take. As I locked my gate that night, I hung a new sign next to the chain. Protected land. Owner armed and recording. I looked out toward the road and thought about everything my father had built and passed down to me, and everything they had tried to steal with fake documents and cheap threats. I didn't fight for this country just to hand it over to crooks, I muttered. Then I went inside, my cabin, my land, knowing no one would ever try this again.